So in this video, I'm gonna be going over some mistakes you may be making and why you can't get full control over your bike and learn how to wheelie without speeding off into the sunset, chasing the wind like no one's business. All right, so I got some notes here, and one of these things may be a problem. All right, I wheelie 1,000 cc's through the mountains, and this video is not a highlight reel. You're not gonna be seeing me pop wheelies for 2 miles because, like, you can go watch other people flex. Here, it's a place to learn, and we talk about the things that people never really talk about, the details that actually get you results. So stay tuned, man. Mistake number 1, I got some notes, like I said. Chopping the throttle suddenly. This is a big one, man. You see guys do wheelies and they don't even notice it. When they're wheeling, they get into this, I call it the dirt bike. They like whammy on the throttle. They go, Chill, okay? Chill. All right, when you get on the throttle, you need to lock your wrist. If you just remember that, lock my wrist, meaning you get up into the wheelie and you stabilize your throttle, all right? You keep going off and on and off and on, thinking that you're balancing, right? Thinking that you doing something. Yeah, I'm making adjustments. No, you're not. You just throwing off the bike. You're confusing the bike. Every time you let off the throttle, the bike dips. And when you get back on the throttle, you're going faster than before. Then you let off again. Then the bike dips again. And the bike keeps getting faster and faster. And now, for real, the wheelie is just done because you don't have the skills and the control to slow that wheelie down. It's already going so fast. So now you have to give it even more gas. Like, the amount of gas you was about to give it would have sent the bike going faster. But you need to give 2-3 times that amount so you can get up under the bike again. So the bike can lift back up. You need to give it so much more gas so the bike can quickly get back into that slowing down. You know what I'm saying? The bike slows down when it gets really tall, when you start to drop back. You know what I'm saying? You have to go higher and higher to get to the point where the bike slows down. You know what I'm saying? If you in this forward zone, you're just continually going faster. But you giving it more gas, it's just making you go faster. You need to give it even more gas to get over that hump to where now you're in that inverted position. So bottom line is, if you was to just pop that wheelie up, get it clean, and lock your wrist and stabilize, and you never dipped and sent yourself into a chase to begin with, you'd have a lot more control, you'd be smoother. All right? A lot of guys get themselves into an uphill battle just because they thinking that this is a technique. That ain't a technique. That ain't control. That ain't you making adjustments. Guys be thinking that they doing it. I'm doing it. I'm keeping it up. No, you're not keeping it up, bro. You setting yourself up for failure. You doing a bad wheelie. That's a bad wheelie. You know what I mean? So the whole goal is to get it up clean and lock. Get it up clean and lock. Stabilize. All right? And if you need to make adjustments, the adjustments are smooth. All right? You're modulating the throttle. You're not chopping on and off. This is not a switch. All right? This throttle twist, it's not a button. If it was a button, then it would have been a button, but it's not a button. It can roll on and roll off. All right? It's like a light, not on a switch, but on a dimmer switch where it has every single range. All right? That you can, you know what I'm saying? It has a whole spectrum of output. So when you wheeling, I'm not saying that when you lock, you can never adjust your throttle. No. I'm making adjustments all day long. But it's not an off and on switch. It's very smoothly regulated. All right? So You know, that's the number one mistake, man. If you just focus on being smooth, let me focus on being smooth with the throttle. A lot of guys, the only thing they can ever think of is how high they're getting. Oh, was I high enough? Did I get high enough? Oh man, I felt like I 12 o'clock. You ain't 12 o'clock. You ain't at 12 o'clock. You know how far you are from 12 o'clock? Every time people do a wheelie, they feel way further than what they actually are. These guys be swearing they doing something. Like, bro, you 3 feet off the ground. Like, come on, man, stop focusing on that. You need to focus on being smooth, you know what I mean? And getting good at wherever level you're at. Forget about the height, because you're gonna fuck around with a height that you're not ready for, then you're gonna be on your ass, you know, because you wasn't ready. So, number one mistake is choppy throttle, all right? The next biggest mistake, it says not covering the rear brake. Yeah, that's a mistake, like covering your rear brake, but I'm gonna be very clear, like covering the rear brake is a good practice. Yes, cover the rear brake. However, you don't need the rear brake until you get to a certain height. So you need to understand where you are in the process. Wheeling is a process where you break it down. Like I said before, a lot of guys are just focused on the end goal. They're trying to get height. Bro, there's stages to this, all right? And you don't need the rear brake until you're at the stage of actually putting it to use. A lot of guys are wheeling and their front wheel is too low to even use the rear brake. If they hit the rear brake, they just set the wheelie down because the wheelie's already so low. I'm not gonna say that covering the rear brake is one of the biggest mistakes, because a lot of guys aren't even at the stage of needing and using the rear brake. But understanding when you need to shift your focus to the rear brake is key. And if you don't know where you're at in the process, you can join my community and get tailored feedback. You can submit your videos and get one-to-one advice and direction and guidance on what you should be doing, so that you can bypass the mistakes and bypass the trial and error, and you can also join the journey with other riders just like you. All right? So this is for sport bikes again. I'm only gonna talk about what I do and what I actually know. You know what I mean? Like, every bike is a different category. You know what I'm saying? Harleys got their own, cruisers got their own thing, dirt bikes got their own thing. Sport bikes, every style is a bit different in their approach. I'm not trying to create division, but there's slight differences, big differences in how these bikes react and how they handle. So with keeping all that in mind, like, there's a point in the process where you need to, like I said, be focusing on smooth throttle control, picking it up smooth, holding it smooth, and letting it down soft. A lot of guys off switch. They shut off the throttle and let the front end slam. You know what I mean? So, like, these things are super important and critical. And in the beginning, it requires all of your focus. You know what I'm saying? But once that becomes automatic, it becomes fluent, right? The less you need to think about it. It's becoming more muscle memory. It's becoming more on demand, automatic. Then it frees up your mental bandwidth to where you can focus on the rear brake and start mastering that. And then you put them two together. Now you wheeling without thinking about either of them. You put in the focus of mastering the rear brake. You put in the focus of, you know, flawless throttle control. You put in the focus of having, crisp clutch pops where you pop in that clutch, and then you put them all together to where it's all seamless. But you break them down into sections where, all right, in the beginning, just getting your timing right with the clutch work. Then you getting your throttle control smooth, and then you dial in that rear brake. So these are all different stages, you know what I mean? And a lot of guys, they try to slam them all together from the jump, try to get straight for height from the jump, and they getting messed up out here. So like I said, man, I never seen anyone break it down like this. So this is extremely useful. You know, what we built inside the community is extremely game changer. Like I said, like no one is breaking down the wheelies like we're breaking it down. And no one has created the movement where riders coming together and they're not alone and they're mastering their bikes and they're learning how to wheelie. You know what I mean? Like this is crazy. So tap in if you want to tap in, and if you want to get to the next level. Let's see, number one reason why most riders will never learn wheelies is because they don't have a real system. They rely on trial and error. This is real. This is real. They don't have no system. They out here guessing. Imagine before you seen this video, how you would have approached it. Like without knowing anything. You probably would have just looked around, saw what other people were doing, and just took a stab at it. But the bike is unforgiving. It doesn't care who you are. It only cares about you, you know, operating it correctly. That's it. Number two is fear, control. They never fix the fear. They ride scared. And I think that's another thing. Like the fear kind of goes away when you kind of understand what you're really doing. If you don't really understand what you're doing, you're gonna be nervous about it. It's like, are you gonna be more afraid if you have to go on stage and you don't know what to say? Or less afraid if you go on the stage and you know exactly what you're gonna say, you know exactly how you're gonna deliver it? You might still be nervous, but like, it ain't gonna be the same as being completely clueless on the subject. So, ego and impatience. Big reason right here. They got ego and impatience. They want Instagram clips before learning the technique. They skipped the foundation. They skipped the foundation and never progress. This is real shit right here, man. I get, like, you know, everyone wants to flex on Instagram, and that's all you see. And I'm sure a lot of guys thought they was gonna click on this video, and see me flexing and doing wheelies. Listen, I don't need a flex. A lot of these guys ain't on my level, man. They not on 1,000 cc's wheeling through the mountains. I have nothing to prove because I already know what's out there. I know what guys are doing, and you know, I'm not that impressed. Like seriously. So, you know, if you want to learn and get better, this is it. And I'm all for flexing on Instagram. I want you guys to flex and get seen and you know, show off your work and be proud of the ride, because I think that's important as a man, to be proud of your work. But like, as a motorcycle rider, you should be able to wheelie. Like, you got a motorcycle. It's like, come on, bro. Like, come on, man. I don't even gotta say too much on that. You know what it's like when you wheeling your motorcycle. But yeah, like, you will get to the point where you can do that, but you got to pay for that. I know a lot of times people are like, "Oh, don't show off too much, or you're gonna crash." Like, don't show off if you haven't paid the price for what you're trying to show off with. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of guys, like, I paid the price to do what I do on my bike, so I can speak confidently, I can show up confidently, I can do my tricks, I can do wheelies, and I know I'm good because I put in the work. I'm not out here fronting. When you're fronting and you're trying to show off for your friends, knowing you ain't put them reps, you ain't put in the reps, you didn't pay the price, you didn't practice, you didn't study, and you out here trying to flex, and you out here trying to get, you know, the glory that you don't deserve. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You got to pay one way or another. And you know, that way is more embarrassing, you know, when you fall in front of other people because you're trying to flex too much, you know, on stuff you didn't pay for. You know, but that will come. A lot of guys are impatient. That's true. Because they didn't put that work in, but they want that end result. They skipped the foundation. They never like studied and did the reps. So they can't get but so good. So yeah, man, this is it for this first video. I'm just testing it out, you know, making sure it comes out good, sounds good. But yeah, I'm gonna keep pumping these out and you know, train and help as many riders level up as I can. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody got to do it. Somebody got to do it, man. No one's breaking it down like it needs to be broken down. Other guys are too lost out here, man. So let's get to work.